Ian, it's over. What a week. How are you?
I'm feeling very relaxed now and very contented. It's been a great week.
Firstly, thanks to you and your tournament committee for an absolutely superb job. You really do make us proud to be members of Avondale, so thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Not sure if you're aware, but there were over 150 different volunteers this week doing 332 shifts. Isn't it amazing? Especially in the heat we've had over the first 3 days. What does their support do to elevate this tournament?
Their support adds the atmosphere. It really adds something special to the Avondale Amateur. I go to a lot of amateur events and they're good tournaments, but there's a real special feel about the Avondale Amateur, and it's for support that there's people around, but B, they're making the place run like clockwork, and everybody puts in so much effort.
There is definitely a buzz, you're right in saying that. Having played the tournament the previous 2 years, there were bottlenecks, mainly on the third hole. You and your match committee have been very clever, in my opinion, in fully utilising the new rules and introducing a lot of penalty areas on the course. Do you think that this has had any impact on the pace of play and the enjoyment of the game?
Well, yes, it has. What we learned last year, we went to a 2T start, which is what we did again this year, and we used bigger intervals because we learned from the 2017 event that using 1T start, we just had a lot of congestion building, and by the end of the day, we had very slow rounds. This year, with a 2T start, firstly, that's given us rounds of about 4 hours 15 on average, and that's very, very acceptable at this level. The penalty areas certainly do help. I think they'll help golf all around the country and the globe, in that you don't have people running back to the tee if they've hit an errant shot. They can just drop the ball at the penalty area and go on, and our course sets up really well for penalty areas. So it's a combination of those two things.
The rough has caused considerable pain for a lot of strong golfers. I mean, I was really surprised that the men struggled with the rough as much. I thought they would be very strong to get out of it. Mm-hmm. When you set up the course for the tournament, is this intentional to grow the rough and make the fairways narrower?
This sounds like a trick question from somebody.
No, it's not at all.
No. The honest answer is no, we don't actually grow the rough for this tournament. It is really nice to have the rough for this tournament, but this is rough growing season. So we actually grow the rough to get us through the whole year so that we don't have problems in our winter when balls run off fairways, or we minimise those problems. It is really opportune to have a penal rough, because I think it really rewards good shots and players who manage to keep their ball in the fairway. So the answer to your question is no, we don't grow the rough to make the tournament more difficult.
Do you make the fairways narrower?
No, we don't. No. The fairways are exactly the same as they are for our play during the summer.
All right. Hole 4, which is a par 3, played second hardest hole on day 1. Day 2, it went to 6th hardest hole. Do you know what was so different between the 2 days?
There wasn't a lot different. I'm trying to think where the pin positions were, but it may have been something to do with the pin position and maybe the prevailing wind as well. But I'm not sure there was any particular reason, because it played very similar length.
I was quite surprised that 2 of our par 3s, number 11, also featured in the hardest holes.
Yeah.
Number 16, which I know is a par 4 for the men, but a par 5 for the ladies. On day 1 it was the 5th hardest hole. Day 2 and 3 it was the hardest hole.
Yeah, day 3 was a hard day. It was like 39 really degrees hot out there, yeah. And I think let's be honest, everybody teed off on the first hole on day 3, so by the time they got to 16, they were tired.
Yeah.
They were probably exhausted. And some of the players really did look a bit wobbly then, and some of the caddies did too. So maybe that's the reason for 16 playing so hard on day 3. 11 is a big, long hole for both the ladies and the men. It's 190 metres and probably 160, 170 for the ladies. I can't remember exactly what's on the card. But it's a big par 3, so you won't be surprised to see some big scores coming out again.
Yeah. Highlights of the week for you?
Really the highlight for me, it was great to see in the Avondale medals, see Blake Windred get his second win. Blake's a really lovely player, and as we talked about in the presentation, a very consistent player. And I guess the highlight for me was the tension at the end of the fourth round there. We had a number of players. With 4 or 5 holes to go, we had Geordie Gardner, we had Jai Picken, and of course Blake, all in contention. And you could hear the messaging going back between the groups as to, well, who's at where. Geordie had to make birdie on the last hole to have a playoff, and I would have really quite enjoyed seeing a playoff because we haven't had one for a long time here. So probably this afternoon was the highlight from a playing perspective. The other highlight was just how well it ran and how much the volunteers provided to us.
Once again, on behalf of all of us at Avondale, thanks to you, the staff and the tournament committee for a job very well done. And to you, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, subscribe below to get updates of all Avondale Am insights, which will include player interviews and live footage from tournament play. Goodbye, good health and great golfing.
And before you sign off, Sharon, thank you to you for doing all the media.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.